There are calls this morning to restart Syrian peace talks after opposition leaders asked for a timeout. New video shows what activists say are airstrikes by Syria's government. It is new evidence that a ceasefire brokered by the United States and Russia is crumbling. The opposition's leader says he cannot negotiate while people are suffering and Syria's president, Bashar al-Assad, stays in power. President Obama and Russian President Vladimir Putin spoke on the phone yesterday about the crisis. We interviewed the president at the White House just after he talked with Putin. Is there coming together in terms of ideas about peace and the ceasefire and who can do what to make Syria a better place?
My call today to him was to indicate that we're starting to see it fray more rapidly. And if the United States and Russia are not in sync about maintaining it and getting a political track and transition moving, then we could be back in a situation we were 3-4 weeks ago. And that would serve neither of our interests. But I think they are also very much committed to maintaining the structure of the Syrian state, which in theory we don't object to either, where we have continually butted heads, and this has been true for 6 years now, is his insistence that he cannot back unilaterally the removal of Assad, that's a decision that Assad and the Syrians have to make.
The Obama doctrine. What is the Obama doctrine?
I've always shied away from labeling my foreign policy. What I believe is that the United States, as the world's singular superpower, has an obligation in all areas of the world where there's mayhem and war and conflict for us to try to be a positive force. But that does not mean that we should be deploying troops everywhere where a crisis is taking place, that we have to be judicious about how we use military power.
When you say don't do stupid stuff, and when you say I'd like to be judged by what I didn't do, some say that in fact you're putting too much emphasis on what we don't do and not enough emphasis on the choices we might have to do.
I've heard this argument, and look, Charlie, when we sat down together back in 2009, when I first came into office, we were still in the midst of 2 active wars. And since that time, we've been able to wind down active combat in those 2 theaters. Those countries are by no means in great shape. Al-Qaeda core has been dismantled. Bin Laden is dead. ISIL is losing territory. And so I've shown no hesitance to use our military where necessary to protect American lives, American interests.
Let me focus on the red line decision that you made. Many look at that and say, because you did not, and you went over the opposition of some of your advisors, which is what a president is expected to do, make the hard choices, that what we have today, in part because of that decision, we have a devastated state. We've had close to 500,000 people die.
I think there's no doubt that there are many in the Middle East who would have preferred me taking a shot at Assad. But the reason is not because of some abstract notions of red lines. Assad is a horrible leader, horrible dictator who has shattered his country. And it continues to be our position that we need to get him out of there.
You have said more than one time that we're the strongest military, we have the best economy. You mentioned the culture. America should own the 21st century, your words. What could stop us?
Well, a couple of things could stop us. Number one is if our political system continues to be dysfunctional. It's fascinating the degree to which the single most important question I'm asked these days from other world leaders is, what's going on with your elections? The current presidential election just is the tip of a broader iceberg of dysfunction that we've seen.
Can I tell you how many people that I talked to before I did this interview, and the question of what has he learned and what is his advice for his successor came up all the time.
And so one of the things that I've learned is that the big breakthroughs are typically the result of just a lot of grunt work. There's a lot of just blocking and tackling. what is important is making sure that you've got an organization that has integrity, that is clear about its mission, that it's doing things the right way and not taking shortcuts, that you're not thinking in terms of short-term politics or PR, but you're in for the long haul. And when you do that, then ultimately you're going to get the good outcome.
Really interesting.
Feels like it was just getting going right, where I wanted to hear more about that tone, because he falls into a thing where he starts getting very relaxed, and you feel it's a real conversation, that it's not just a presidential talking point, which he also does very well. But I love when he really gets personal about how he feels about things. He was getting there.
Yeah, it took place about 20 minutes in.
Yeah.
I've been reading through the transcript, and I keep highlighting every word. So we're going to see more of this interview, right?
All of it tonight on my PBS program.
All right.
And then I'll go to see him in Germany over the weekend and do part 2.
Well, there's more to discuss with the President of the United States.
So, you know,
He will have by then seen
So-
Merkel. He would have been at the GCC, and he will have had lunch with the Queen.
So I guess this means you passed your security clearance, that you're now going to Germany. That's good.
And Gil, you know,
Yeah.
Charlie just doesn't go for one interview. He says, "I'd like a 2 for, please."
And that's
so
okay.
It's not just an exclusive; it's an exclusive times
That's
2.
okay. I like it. I like it.